Hey everyone, welcome to this morning or this afternoon's Mogul Live with Jessica Belkin. Really thrilled to have you here. I'm James Pratt, your host. Again, great to see Sam, Buck, Heidi, 327 people in the chat already. Really excited. Minx and Coco said hi, Jessica, already. Really excited to have Jessica in as our guest here on Mogul Live. You would have seen Jess, American Horror Story, Modern Family, Pretty Little Liars, in Reboot Camp, which is a great, obviously, segue to what we've been talking about this week. She plays Ruby, so we can talk to her a little bit about that, but really excited to get Jess into the chat as soon as possible. So let's see if we can connect her now. Again, ask any questions you like, guys, as we go. Let's get Jess in. See you, Aiden. Good to see you joined in. Ethan, great number in the chat already. This is fantastic. Just as we're connecting. Hey, Jessica, how are you?
How are you? I'm good.
So where have we got you from at the moment?
Currently, I'm in New York City for Fashion Week.
Fantastic. Well, thanks for having a chat with us. There's a couple of questions actually that some people sort of emailed in earlier to ask you.
Oh,
But
really?
I think, yeah, you've got a lot of fans out there. But I think right off the bat, I'd love to just maybe have a chat about your career and just maybe talk a little bit how you got into the industry and what you've been up to lately.
Oh, that's a long story. It starts all the way from when I was 5 years old. I started acting and I did a Affleck commercial. It was my first acting role, and I remember I didn't even realize that I was filming anything because I was just in a onesie and there was a school teacher with me and she was just playing card games with me. And off to the corner, they were like recording on a camera the entire time. And then I was like, oh, I'm done. Where was the shoot, guys? So that's how I started, and I started mostly with commercial work. I did a lot of commercials for Olive Garden, Flutter by Fairy, and then I slowly transitioned into theatrical work. I started with Nickelodeon majority of my career growing up as a child actor. I was on a show called Nicky, Ricky, Dicky, and Dawn. And yeah, I mean, ever since then, I've just been transitioning and growing.
Have you found as you've been transitioning more and more away from sort of the teen side of things that the castings and so the process changes, or is it still the same formula, the same way through?
I think the formula overall has kind of shifted over COVID. The auditioning process and even testing process, Zoom callbacks. I mean, everything is digital, and I'm not used to, poor connection being the main factor for why I can't like talk and or communicate with a person.
Sure.
So yeah, I think the formula has changed, but now that I'm fully an adult, I'm 19 years old, I'm entering the industry again as, part of my age group now.
Yeah, and I mean, working really hard as well. We'll cover a couple of these titles. I know you've got Deathlink. You're filming a film right now as well. Reboot Camp, of course, played Ruby. Great to see Alicia, Tom, Andrew also joined the chat. You're so pretty, Jessica, is the last comment I can see that's come up. But what's been the best role or the best experience you've had so far?
The best. I mean, I think every project I've worked on has given me a little piece of something that I hold on to. I don't know if I could just pick one because either the role was amazing or the people I worked with were amazing, and either of those things made my job just that much more incredible. But
Sure.
I would say American Horror Story, when I was on that show, it was just such an exciting time for me. I was so young too, and I was just loving every aspect of it.
Well, can we talk a little bit about that, because that's very interesting. How did you get? What was the audition process like, and what was the shooting experience as far as how much time between once you got the role and then you were on set was there?
I remember the auditioning process. I went in, I read for the role. It was for the daughter of the detective, and they really liked me, but they wanted to bring me up for an older role because they wanted to cast her for a little bit younger. So they brought me back as Ren, who was this vampire, and I was playing the daughter of Lady Gaga, the Countess. And I mean, the most amazing experiences happened there. I actually was like terrified half the time because I would see half of the set covered in blood or like gory vampires coming out of the mattress. But it shifted me into like wanting to do more dramatic and horror roles.
Yeah, and I mean, because it's an interesting process. I find I go back to this story a lot, but basically, we spoke to someone on Mogul Live, and he was talking about his experience on Burn Notice. So he read for the part in LA, and then literally, like 12 hours later, he was on a plane to Miami, and as soon as he got off the plane, that um, how did they shoot American Horror Story? Do they give you a lot of like lead in time, or is it pretty much you get the script and then a week later you're shooting?
I remember I got the script for episode 7, which was where I don't want to spoil it for anybody, but something happened to my character and it was really, really big. And I was waiting for them to give me this script, and I came up to Ryan Murphy on the red carpet of American Horror Story Hotel. And I was like, oh my God, like, so good to see you. And he was like, did you get the script? And I was like, no, did they send it? He was like, yeah, I wrote you some really good stuff. And I went home and I read it and I was like, this is what's happening. Oh my God. Uh,
And so do you how do you kind of combat nerves on like a show like that? Because it's a really big show.
um, I feel like I've gotten used to being in front of a camera for so long. The nerves that I get are more like I uh, I get them more for auditions actually. When I book the job and I'm on set, it's fine. But for auditions, especially when they were in person, now they're really all like self tape and over Zoom. But in person, I would get a little nervous and I would just breathe through it, go in. And the second that I would start performing, it was like everything would be thrown out the window and I would
Right.
just be able to do it.
It's almost like you kick into autopilot, like you know what to do. The
Exactly.
audition like the ones where you kind of walk in there and I think everyone sort of has their own like worst audition, but is there an audition where you've kind of gone, because they are very uncomfortable auditions, is there one where you've kind of gone, there's no way I'm getting that role, and then you actually booked it?
Hmm. I remember thinking like, oh, that was an all right audition. I don't know if I really stood out, um, but I would think I was on Just Add Magic for Hulu, and that was a really really cool show. It was a kids show, and the writing was obviously very cheesy, and I really am passionate about dramatic roles, but that was just a fun cutesy audition that I did, and I was like, maybe it'll land, and it did, and I had a lot of fun on that show.
Yeah, I mean, how many was that? Can you kind of sway in your character? Because I did see that up on your IMDb. How long were you on the show for?
I was on the show for, I think they brought me back for the second. I honestly can't remember fully, but I think it was the second season. I was there for 8 episodes, and I was the mean girl. I'm always playing the mean girl in the kids shows because of the blonde hair and the blue eyes, and just sitting there like this. But I played Leah. And it's a show about magic. And so weird things would happen to me every time that I was being mean to her. So it was like a karma spell. So that was majority of the season was going through my character being like, what is going on to me? I just want to be popular.
Right, right. I think that must be fun though, getting to play the mean girl sometimes. I guess, play someone and obviously like have fun with it, or have you kind of played it too many times? You're like, I'm over it.
I feel like it's always such a fun character to play because there's so many different types of mean girls. You could either be ditzy or you could be really smart, or I'll think of some other ones another time.
Yeah. I,
But
I I always think of the Mean Girls, Lindsay Lohan, that group of Mean Girls.
Regina
That's sort
George.
of right, right, right. Yeah, that really set the tone as well for kind of like Mean Girls being quite a popular character.
When I
Um,
was on the Nickelodeon show, I also played a big mean girl character. I was a recurring guest star, and I was constantly bullying the lead little cousin. I don't know. They're Nicky, Ricky, Dicky now, so they're all like sisters and brothers.
Do you
I
ever kind of like do you ever kind of feel like I guess playing these characters that you're kind of like I don't want it to wear off and this to be me in real life?
honestly, I don't really mind because I feel like I'm a little too nice to people sometimes, and just to have that little piece that I can tap into because I've played a character that way, or I can say something very confidently because my character used to say it that way. I feel like it's kind of fake it till you make it.
Right, right, right. Well, I mean, it's a great segue to talk about this film, Reboot Camp. Um, is there anything? I guess first of all, the NFT event for anyone that's just joined us. We've been talking to the cast of Reboot Camp. We had Eva Raza, we had Jill Rule yesterday. We had Nicole Aniston, Chaz Bono. We have Jessica Belkin. Now you play Ruby in the movie. How did it come about getting the role?
So funny story. I had met David Lipper, who played Seymour and Saint Pierre Gordon, however he says it with his French accent. We
Very,
met.
very well. That's not bad. Yeah.
I try, but David and I met on a movie set 3 years ago. We shot it actually in New York, but it was Buffalo,
Right.
and it was called Sleeping with My Student. He played my father, and we connected on that set. We actually got to work on two more projects together since then. And I mean, I love David. He introduced me to the project and he asked me if I wanted to be a part of it. And I was like, absolutely.
He actually spoke very highly when he was on when he chatted with us recently about you.
I,
Exactly the same thing. Worked with you a bunch of times already, and will continue to do that.
yeah,
Speaks for
I appreciate him so much. He really believes in me and I really believe in him. So,
yeah, and he's a talented guy, very talented guy. So, can I ask you a little bit too about the way that they shot Reboot Camp? Obviously, it's a comedy shot at Frank Sinatra's house in Los
yeah,
Angeles.
about to
Um,
say, how cool is that?
Yeah, I actually, a great question would be because I've asked quite a few of the people how they would describe the home, and I mean, my sort of connection with it is I've been there and I saw when I was there they had this amazing sunset, and then when I was actually seeing Reboot Camp some stills, I just saw this sunset picture, and I kind of knew straight away like that's the sunset you get at Frank Sinatra's house because it's up on top of the hill.
Hmm.
How would you describe the house though? Nicole Aniston called it eclectic. I think David called it the house that at any point, at some point in your career, you're going to end up there. How would you describe it?
um, I want to. If Nicole Aniston came up with eclectic, I feel like I should just come up with something just as extravagant. Um, I felt very energized. I felt like
Right.
I was walking into. Don't ask me the year. Was it the? When did the "It's Up to You, New York"? When did that come out? In the 20s,
Yeah, that's
40s?
going a while. Yeah, let's just say like a while. We'll just put like a few. Yeah.
But yeah, I felt like I was walking into like an old movie set, and I was really experiencing everything. They had like this little courtyard in the middle of the house as well, and we would just chill there and have lunch.
Yeah, it's an amazing. I mean, you have like a everything's kind of still in that same condition
Mm.
where it's a little time warp inside, especially the bar. A couple of great questions just quickly came in. I'm gonna quickly run a couple through you, Jess. Here's the first one. Who's the cast on Reboot Camp? Thanks, Paula.
We've got David Lipper, we've got Kelly Price, Lindsay Shoster, uh, Chaz Bono, David Keechner, Kochner. Um, there's a bunch of actors that are incredible and that are part of this movie, and a lot of them are actually playing themselves. So, which is the cool part because you get to see them playing themselves, but actually, I mean, a lot of it is characteristics, but they also improved most of the movie. I remember I saw Jarul's interview as well, and he was saying how much he was just bouncing off of each other. And I remember watching the movie, and I was like, I can't believe that this stuff was just improv.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, there's some really good actors, David Keechner and Keckner and Ed Bagley Jr. and Eric Roberts. I think David was telling me Eric Roberts was on set for basically 6 hours and then was getting in an airplane with his wife. But in that 6 hours, like, they really just compressed that to get it in. How would you describe Evo, Raza, the director's shooting style?
Evo was so fun. He just let us take the lead most of the time. He would come in, give us his notes, but he really was just so open to letting us, have our banter. And especially when I had my scenes with Melanie, who played my mother, we were just like, it almost felt like I was talking to a version of my mother, not technically that kind of mother, but it was that same kind of chemistry where we were just like, Mom, stop. No, sweetie, do this. And it was
Really?
so much
Yeah. Who was the funniest person on set when the cameras weren't rolling on Reboot Camp?
fun. Ooh, tough question.
Because I spoke with Chat when I was speaking with Chaz, he was saying that behind the scene, everybody was just very relaxed, very funny, very silly,
I,
all the time. Yeah. So I'm
um,
curious to see in the most funny, I guess, or the best value.
I loved Daniel and Lindsay. Both of them were such fun. I feel like they're characters even outside of their characters. So it was just cool to talk with them, and they didn't treat me like I was a kid. I don't like being treated as a kid because I don't act like one. And they were just so welcoming and mature about just talking about all sorts of things and not really caring about my age. And we really just communicated really well.
Sure, sure.
Um,
I was gonna say anyone because we've got more and more people jumping in the chat at the moment. It's really fantastic. Some questions, a lot of love hearts for you, and a lot of people saying. I saw one that says, "Can you say hi, Isabella?" Uh, so um, so anyone that's joined, very cool movie. Thanks for Paula again. That's a great comment. Anyone that's joined, Jessica Belkin, Ruby on Reboot Camp, and one of the reasons we're talking Reboot Camp is Mogul's just partnered with Reboot Camp for the premiere on the 21st, Cine Lounge in Hollywood, and the NFT event that's coming up on the 16th, which is really exciting. Are you looking forward to it, Jess? And what are you looking forward to?
I'm looking forward to the premiere and for the auction to go off on the 16th. I'm super, super excited just to see the response from my fans and also from people in the crypto industry. I'm pretty young still, and so I'm learning more about blockchain tools and marketplace and digital media and art, and it's all such a new sort of world for me. So this is the first time I've been introduced to it, especially with Mogul. This is my first time doing an NFT, and Mogul was the first NFT marketplace in Hollywood, so I'm really excited to be a part of it.
Yeah, it's gonna be a really fun ride. I think the interesting thing is like Jarul, for example, yesterday, he's all over NFTs. Like he's loving
Yeah,
them from the start.
he's
But
doing this
there
and
are,
this. He's
yeah,
doing
he's
clothing with it as well.
yeah. But then there is the other side of it where it's like brand new, like Hollywood, like a lot of Hollywood and a lot of the entertainment industry is just now finding out about them. So it's a really good time to not only be getting involved. Anyone in the chat that wants to know a little bit more, jump on mogulproductions.com or ask a question in the chat too. You can ask Jess any question as we go. Steve's written, "Hi Jessica." The nice
Thank
background.
you,
Yeah,
Maya.
our Paul is definitely talking to you when he says nice background on that one. Uh, so I wanted to segue a little bit into just advice, Hollywood. I mean, you've been in the industry for a long time. What would be some advice you could give?
A piece of advice that I would give to anyone entering the industry or looking to is to not get blindsided by how Hollywood may look on the outside and how easy it may be. I mean, these days with social media and the elevated presence with social media, it's really been an opportunity for anybody to join. A lot of people are capable of doing exactly what I'm doing. It's all about if you really put in the effort and work. It's not about coming to LA and being Hollywood and going out and knowing this person and knowing this person and oh, I'm an actress and I'm also a dancer and a singer and I do this and that and that. I want to find my niche and I want to focus on it in my bedroom and I work for hours and that's only when success can grow.
Yeah, that's great advice. That's great advice. Um, Great questions and great comments also coming in the chat really quickly. We might segue back. I saw a couple of questions come in too with American Horror Story. I can't see how far back that is, but I remember two questions came in. The first one being, I find this really interesting because we were talking with Chaz Bono about when he's done, your daytime soaps like Young and the Restless, and then shooting, for example, he was on American Horror Story.
As well.
How did Yeah, I mean, how do they, when you've shot your episodes, technically, how many takes are you getting? Or is it quite quick, like they want to move? Is there a lot of like lead in time? What's the experience on set been?
It's a mixture of both, depending on how much time we had left, because at the time I was not legal 18, which I took the CHESP, which is the California High School exit exam, when I was 15 years old. And I graduated high school then, so I could work as an adult on set. I could do the 12 hours, but most of the time we'd be 9 hours and then 3 hours of school and da 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 da. But when I was working on set, there was this one time I was working with director Michael Goy. He's one of my favorite people I've ever worked with, and I remember he was like, "We don't have time, and this is the last film from Hawaii that was like shipped in, and you have about 3 seconds to do it." And they covered my face in blood, like drenched it, dripped it down my face, and then they like swung over the camera, and all I had to do was like breathe. I was like, so like even those like little moments were like rushed, but they came out so like cool. And I remember looking back on that scene, and the hues in the screen, it was like all green, and then the red was so bright. But when we were shooting, I was shooting a long scene was with Wes Bentley, and it was just so many different shots and coverages, and then they would zoom in into my eye. It was like one shot of my eye. And then we had another scene. I had one with Lady Gaga where she breaks a window of a car that I'm sitting in, and I remember like being terrified. I was like, "This is my first time experiencing any like glass, fake glass breaking in front of me, and being so close to it too." So my like actual reaction when it broke was so natural. It was literally like I like screamed.
Can we break down that scene a little bit more? That sounds very. So the scene was is Lady Gaga breaks the is it the side windshield or is it the front windshield
It's
that
the
she broke?
side. For anybody who hasn't seen the show, I play a vampire, but this was a flashback to me before I was 148 years old. I was 13, and I was still with my father, and he left me in a hot car. He was very abusive, and I remember thinking, my character, I'm speaking for my character is
Right.
thinking, oh, like maybe I should not call for help. Maybe I should just pass out in here and let it be. And then Lady Gaga comes in. She smashes the car window and reaches in for me, and I'm like, "Mama." And then basically she turns me into a vampire since then.
And how many takes did you get of the actual glass breaking?
We did a couple of takes before, just her like putting her fist to the glass, and then there was one take that we did, and it was perfect.
For any again, because I know there's going to be a question that comes up here. If anyone gets that scene that they're having any glass break in a movie, especially an action movie, any advice because you've done it that you would give them as an actor that scene?
Full send it, do it. Not much that you can do. You signed up for it. I mean, especially if this is the industry that you want to enter and be an actor. I mean, you have to do some stunts here and there. I think it's fun. I think it's really cool. Actually, my last movie that I worked on, Way of the Warriors, it shot in Minnesota when it was like 20 degrees outside, icy roads, and I had to drive myself. And this girl who played my little sister, she's so cute. She was like in the back, and I'm like, I promise you, I will be fine. And they have like these like three or like there's two big cameras that were just like right in front of the windshield, hooked on, strapped on, and they told me to drive this like huge Lincoln SUV type down this icy road, and I was like, but I did it, and like after I was like, fine. So I think it's just like ripping off a band-aid, just try it out.
Right, right, right. And one take on that one?
Oh, with Way of the Warriors?
Yeah, I
No.
see.
Oh my God, no. We went up and down the road so many times. It was an empty road, thankfully. But yeah, it was pretty slippery, and I could feel myself drifting here and there. I'm like,
Wow. Yeah, well, I was going to say that's a great story. That's a great story. More and more people are coming into the chat, which is fantastic. Guys, any question you like with Jessica Belkin? We've got about 10 minutes. So any question's a good question. Let's circle to another film that you did with David Lipper. Of course, David on Reboot Camp as the man. Deathlink. Can you talk to us a little bit about that project?
Deathlink is the new baby that we have. It's our story about Tabitha and Julie, and we have so many cool actors: Ali Simpson, Matt Rife. We got Riker Lynch, and the story is. What were you saying?
Adam Garcia.
Adam Garcia. Oh my God, yes. Oh my
Yeah,
God, super.
there's a couple of
But
Australians in there, I know, so I had to put them in. Ali and Matt, Australians, yeah.
yes, but I play Tabitha. I don't know if I can even say much about the story because we're still doing promos for it and still slowly releasing like hints about what the movie's about. But yeah, I mean, it was such a cool experience working with David and Elise Luthman because I've known Elise since I was like 8 years old. We would go to like red carpet events together, and now we're like two grown adults working together. It was so cool.
That's great. Quick questions are coming in fast and heavy, so I'm going to quickly throw these at you, Jess. Okay, so Nesser says, Jess, what do you think about Russian movie business?
um, I know that my mother watches Russian movies. I'm not really sure much about them, but I know that I'll walk into my mom's like office sometimes and she'll be sitting there drinking coffee just watching something in Russian, or it's like an American movie that's like translated in Russian.
Right, right. Great answer. Great answer. I hope that helps, Nesser. Another question came in. Where do they film American Horror Story?
I know the seasons, while seasons change, there's different like um, locations that are off of the soundstage. But when I was shooting Hotel, we were shooting at Fox Studios, and yeah, my dad would drive me like every morning.
This is in LA, Fox Studios in LA.
Yeah, at Fox
Yep.
Studios in LA.
Fantastic. A question came in just a little higher up. Jess, can you talk about Pretty Little Liars?
Oh yeah, Pretty Little
Let's
Liars.
Yeah, can you talk? That's kind of an open question. What about maybe how you got the role and a little bit about shooting, what it's like on set?
So for Pretty Little Liars, I remember being such a huge fan of the show when I was like in elementary school, and I would be like talking to my friends, and I'd be like, "I'm this liar, you're this liar, and you're this one." Like we'd pretend we were the characters. And I remember when I got the audition, I was like, "Oh my God, I'm gonna spend hours on this," and it wasn't even that long. Of a scene. So I went into the audition, and it was like characters that I have never seen before. It's like they probably changed these. I wonder what it's going to be, because the scene itself was like me pushing a woman off of the roof. I was like, whoa, this is great. And I was like, I wonder who it is. But I remember I had my dad's email logged into my phone, and I was in the car one day, and I looked at his email, and I saw that it was like I booked it already, and it was like my dad had already opened the email, and I was like, "Why didn't you guys tell me? Why didn't you tell me I booked it?" They were like, "God, you ruined the surprise already," and I just started bawling. I'm like, "I can't believe I'm gonna be on Pretty Little Liars." I was 13 when I was on that show, so it was so exciting for me to like be on something that I had watched. And when I went to the table read, they had the actual correct scene with all the correct characters, and I got to find out who A was, which is like what the entire show is based on. It goes for like 5 seasons, 5 or 6 seasons, just being like chasing who this stalker is. And in that specific episode that I was in, I played Bethany Young, who was actually a really concrete character that they had been talking about for 5 seasons, 5 years straight, and then now you finally see her face when she was like in the flashback. And I killed this not me, sorry, I'm going to speak in the correct terms. My character killed one of the other characters' mothers.
And how would you describe the set? Like when you're on set, were they like very much like we need to get the shots? Were they taking their time a little bit? Was it relaxed? How was it?
There was a stunt coordinator that came by, and I mean, I love when people make me feel comfortable on set. And I was so nervous, I didn't want to hurt anybody, and it was like a sound stage. They had built up half of a roof, and they made it look like a rooftop with like a bunch of different pipes coming out of the top and a door that like leads out to the roof. And they set up this huge like stacked 3 big foam mats on top of each other, and it was really soft, and we practiced it a couple times, and we like rehearsed it, and it went very smooth. We did it like probably 2 or 3 times. And I remember Marlene King, the director and writer, she came up to me and she was like, I want you to like freak out in the end. Because in the beginning I was like, oh, you pushed her, freak. And then she was like, I want you to come in there and like say freak. And then that became viral on Twitter when the episode came out, because it was such a big episode. Everybody found out who the stalker was. My face just going, you pushed her, freak, was like all over Twitter.
And what's your kind of like your character on there? What was the hardest part of playing that character? Because it just sounds like a lot of fun.
What was the hardest part?
Yeah.
I think just the action of like pushing someone that I just met off of a roof onto a mat and being like aggressive with them. I'm like, I'm sorry, I don't want to do this, but like this is my job. I think that was it. I mean, the role itself was pretty straightforward, and I just didn't like the action of like, oh, I'm actually a nice person.
Sure, sure. It's memorable. I'm going to quickly, because the questions, I just keep flying them over, and I could see one from Nessa, who asked our Russian question before, has got a follow-up question. I'll see if I can quickly jump to that one. Here we go. Okay, Jess, here's a question for you. What characters do you prefer to play, like more good behaved and nice girl, or bad girls with hard personalities?
Um, I I I love stepping outside of my comfort zone and stepping outside of what my usual look may look like. I think people can look at my Instagram, and my Instagram is pretty social media based. It's very influencer. I have brand deals on there. I post with my friends. I post with my family, and it's just an in look into my life. And just by looking at that, I mean, I think you can tell that I'm just your average California, LA girl who's, just going through school. I'm doing all this fun stuff, but I would love to play more characters that are gritty and, can suffer from addictions and really tap into what that character would feel if they were going through that.
Characters that have a deep subtext.
Yeah, more substance, more depth to them. I feel like a lot of characters can just bleed together and blend, and nothing really makes them special. So I always like to bring myself into my characters and kind of.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. Nightly Crypto, he's next in our questions here. Good to see you, Nightly Crypto, always in these chats. Fans should know that Jessica is doing an NFT with Mogul. First ever NFT or deleted scenes in a movie. Absolutely, Jess. Can you give us a little bit of a teaser for anyone that's just joined the chat now about that NFT?
So basically, Mogul and Reboot Camp are doing an NFT where they are selling basically our deleted scenes from the movie. This is super cool. They're one of one collectibles of digital content that we created from the film. You'll be able to see me whacking around prosthetic boobs and screaming at my mother and telling her that I don't want to be like her. But yeah, I think it'll be really cool. Basically, anybody that buys my deleted scenes from the movie will be able to attend the red carpet with all of us and meet everyone. I'm super excited.
Yeah, 21st of September, Cine Lounge in Hollywood's going to be the premiere. Keep the questions coming as well, guys. We've got probably about 6 or 7 minutes with Jess before we have to let her go. It's been a great conversation, like so much good sound bites, Jess, already. I did see a question come in here as well. It said, were you on Modern Family? I'm going to see if I can pull it up. Were you on Modern Family?
Modern Family, yeah, that was when I was beginning stages of acting. It was right after I had done Nickelodeon. I had an episode with, oh, I forget his name. He was on, to the show about having all the kids. He had a bunch of kids, and he was on Modern Family.
Do we know the character? Maybe we could ask this to the chat. Does anyone know the character? Can we do like a description, like a detective description? What does he look like, or she, on the show?
He played the husband of Sofia Vergara.
Oh, Ed, the very talented.
Like Bill Murray, but I know he's not Bill Murray.
Yeah, Ed O'Neill.
Gotcha. Yeah, I had a scene with him.
Very talented actor. Yeah, he's the older, slightly older generation. Absolutely talented. Yeah.
Yeah, I had a scene with him in the movie theater where I was like eating and I was like, "Sorry, can you not?" And he was like lifted the popcorn and they like went all over the place.
Oh, that's a great scene. That's a great scene.
It was a little co-star role when I was like, let's say like 13.
And I mean, from the kind of transition from all the way back there to now, I mean, I think Deathlink, what's the most recent film or the next film that we can see you in after Reboot Camp?
Yeah, so I'm about to finish this movie actually. We have to go back and do some pickup shots in Minnesota. But I mentioned before I was part of a project called Way of the Warriors. It's a hockey-based movie from the same producers as Miracles. Do you know the Pixar movie with hockey? Is it with an S or is it just Miracle?
You're catching me off guard, so I'm going to make a 100% guess and say without the S.
I'm pretty sure it's Miracle, yeah. But it was such a fun experience. I got to work with a bunch of hockey players. I was the one female out in northern Minnesota by myself, surrounded by dudes. But they were all super welcoming. I had such a fun time with them. And I got to go skating on the pond. They actually treated me like I was a true one of the boys, you know.
And what's the movie about? It sounds very interesting.
So it's a hockey-based movie. It's about this son who is dealing with a lot of family things going through with his dad's health, and at the same time, he and his teammates are trying to win the championship. And I mean, the story is just about leadership and teamwork and working together. I play the captain's girlfriend, so I play the girlfriend of the family man, the family guy.
And were there any known hockey players in Nightly Cryptos just put in a good question. Were there any hockey players in it?
There were a lot of them. Personally, I am not a hockey fan, so I don't know their names. But I do know that there were two guys that all of the boys were like raving about. They would come to the cabin and they would like party with us on our off days. We would just like sit by the fire and play like is Monopoly, and we had like picture some game like that. But yeah, they were like all freaking out about it. And they're like, "Oh my God, they're famous."
And how did you? I mean, this is a really good question because I like for myself, I've never even been anywhere near like a hockey movie itself. But how do you shoot a hockey movie? Do you get someone being your stunt double for a lot of the scenes when you're on the ice? Do you do all the skating yourself?
So I wasn't on the ice. I actually was just playing. I was just ice skating with the boys on our off day.
Okay.
There was a pond, and they would just play pond ski because we were bored. We didn't have anything to do. And I would just kind of watch and like twirl around. But when they were shooting their scenes, they had Chris Nelson. Chris Nelson. He worked on the original Miracle movie, and he was on the ice. He was coordinating all of them. They had rehearsals, practice. I guess it'd be practice every day for like hours, block everything, and then there was a guy that was on the ice, like following them around.
Oh, right, right. I think it's fascinating because when you, and anyone in the chat who wants to join in, if you've got any experience, ice hockey movies, skating, or any tips, because, when you see these guys playing in the NHL, it's like, they're basically, they're running on ice in these skates,
Mm-hmm.
like watching them as a professional career.
Oh,
Probably our last,
okay.
you go, I was
No,
going
I
to say
was just
probably,
gonna say it was my first time on hockey blades. I've always been on like the figure skating, the dainty like white ones, but
right.
it was my first time on like actual blades, and I was not used to it. But I wasn't bad.
Yeah, and where did it take place? This is in Minnesota?
Northern Minnesota, so it was small town near Eveleth, and yeah, I mean like even when I meet people that are from Minnesota, and I'm like, yeah, I was in Eveleth, they're like, where is that? I'm like, yeah, it's northern. There's no Ubers, there's no Postmates, there's not really any places to go to or walk to because it's all icy and like I was surviving on like the food that they had on set and the Walmart down the street.
That's really interesting. That's really interesting. Um, I'll tell you what, because I can see these questions like they don't want you to go, Jess. So I'm going to fly through three more questions. I said one quickly. Nightly Crypto, are you going to the premiere on the 21st? Are you going to the premiere on the 21st?
I am. I'll be attending, and anybody who purchases my deleted scenes will be able to attend the red carpet with me and all the other actors.
Fantastic. I Kitty Me, thanks very much. Yes, please watch the latest one's Malibu Crush. That would be awesome. Thank you, I Kitty Minnie. Um, Sounds like the movie Mystery Alaska. That's from Gerver. That's the Minnesota film.
Mystery Alaska.
The sounds like the movie Mystery Alaska.
I know a movie called, or a book that they created a show on after called Looking for Alaska, which is so good by John Green. I actually met John Green at the screening for Looking for Alaska. It's on Hulu. And I came up to him and I was like, I've been reading your books since middle school. Thank you so much for what you've done.
That's fantastic. Yeah, Nightly Crypto's just confirmed that it's called Mystery Alaska. Yeah,
Mystery. Okay, I'll have to check it
Mystery,
out.
Mystery Alaska. Yeah, great input, guys. We've got the reboot camp, obviously. Okay, Nightly Cryptos just beat me to that question. I was going to ask you, what was your first thought about NFTs? Your first thought?
I was like, this is so cool. This is delightful. I didn't know that like this was even an industry that we could enter as actors and people in Hollywood and actually create something that people, it's unique. It's something that's so collectible. And I was like, this is cool for me, especially since I am young and I want to start all of this stuff and really get into it early on. Get ahead.
Yeah. No, it's a great kind of reaction people get. Like we were saying earlier in the chat, some people kind of think of it and they kind of have to take a moment and kind of be like, okay, what is this? And other people like, yeah, I've heard, e.g., from Jarul, I heard from someone else. Like, this is fantastic. Uh,
Yeah.
we have the reboot camp. Obviously, we're talking about premiere and NFTs. Last question to you: can you tell us a fun or an interesting story about being on set of reboot camp? Whether it's about Evo, the director, David, some of the other actors, Nicole Aniston, Chaz Bono, or even just something interesting that kind of happened when you were there.
Yeah, I told myself that I would try and withhold, coming up to Eric Roberts, but I couldn't. I was like, I'm such a big fan. I would love to speak with you. And he was so kind. He gave me really good advice, and him and his wife, they had just finished shooting a scene. And I came up to him with my father, and my father's also a huge fan, and he was like, "Hello, how are you?" And nice to meet you. We started speaking about where I'm from, where my parents are from, and then my dad pulls up a photo of my cat. His name is Gucci, and he's a Bengal cat, so he's got all of these like cheetah prints on his body or on his figure. And Eric looks at it. He was like, "Huh, ocelot. It looks like an ocelot." And like we just died laughing because no one's ever really like compared my cat to an ocelot. They've been like, "Oh, it looks like a leopard." It's like
Right.
ocelot.
Was it Eric Roberts in his kind of more deep pan, like deadpan sort of voice, or was it more Eric Roberts kind of like studying it and coming out with a breakthrough?
Both. I feel like it was a mixture of both, and also like the conversation that he was having with my dad on the side. My dad was telling him about like one of his favorite movies that he had watched, and he was like, "Wow, this guy is incredible." And oh my God, I just remembered this. Eric was like, "Why don't we take a picture together?" And my dad was like, "Yeah, yeah." And so he gives me the phone, and Eric's like, "No, no, no, no. We're gonna take a selfie." And he grabs the phone and he like takes the picture of me and my dad and him. And I was like, "Dad, are you happy?" And he was like, "This is so cool."
Eric Roberts, I feel like he's one of the hardest working guys, and correct me if I'm wrong, but the story David told me was that they basically had Eric for 6 hours, and he had his wife ready to go to the airport as soon as they'd finished shooting that day. So it was
Yeah.
like they squeezed him in, but they got him. They got him there. They got Eric into the film.
Yeah, and they improv that and like all of his scenes in the interview room. Yeah, he was improving like majority of it, and I was like, "Wow, this is cool. This is what actors do."
Well, it's a really funny film. Really excited to see your other films coming up as well, Jess. And for anyone that's either got half the chat or they've just come in now, we've got huge numbers watching as well. Like it's just been growing the longer we've been talking. Feel free, we'll put this up on Instagram so you can come back and watch it anytime. But Jess, we'd love to get you back. Cannot wait to see you on the 21st for the premiere. We've got the Mogul NFT on the 16th, but also your film's coming out. Can't wait to see it.
Thank you so much. This was so fun. Thank you so much for talking to me and giving me all these questions. Thank you so much, guys, for all of the love. And hopefully I'll be back here soon.
Great to have you, Jess. We'd love to have you back. Take care. And guys, look out. We've got a couple more guests from Reboot Camp coming up. Otherwise, we'll see you at the event or mogulproductions.com.
Catch me on Instagram, on TikTok, on YouTube, and on Twitter. It's all Jessica Belkin.
Awesome. Okay,
Bye.
Jess, take care. We'll talk to
Thank
you
you.
soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye.